Hi, everybody. This is Mike Leahy, and we appreciate you taking the time today to look at our demand planner software. And Bart Fannin is going to be working with me, and we can all shake hands over the phone. My picture, Bart's picture. This is just an overview for those who are not familiar with our company. We have been in business forever. We have worked with the Macola software forever. All of our customers are either manufacturers or distributors. Probably 90% of our customers or more are manufacturers. We're based in Cincinnati, Ohio. But what really brings us together today is that we are experts at developing software that makes your standard Macola software easier to use. And I put that word much easier to use as well. So we look for areas in the entry of data, posting of data, reports, analysis, and we look for areas that need some beefing up, and we develop software for that. And one of the pieces of software is the software we're looking at today, the demand planner software. So people ask, well, what's the target company that would be using the demand planner software? And the very first thing is manufacturers that have long lead times, that have vendors with long lead times. And that typically is from vendors who are overseas, where in addition to a long lead time, you have on the water an on the water component. And so those on the water component lead times are changing as well. They're varying as well. Since a lot of companies don't have sales waiting to manufacture or to ship, 3, 4, 5 months in advance, this is a system that also relies on your available sales forecast. So in other words, if we need to place an order for somebody with a 120-day lead time, we need to know what our forecast is so we can incorporate that into what we're going to buy. So this question at the bottom is applicable here. Do we have enough on order to meet customer orders as well as changing forecasts for the next 6 months? And that's a lot of what, in the example today, we will go out 5 months and then show you how that works. Okay. So what we're offering here is a real-time planning dashboard. And the idea is it's going to pinpoint when you need to order, not too early, not too late. We have some controls built into the software that allow you to see the dollar amount that you're committing the company to, as well as are you filling the shipping container. A lot of companies, the objective is to always fill the container. So if you have your cubic meter or cubic feet dimensions for the product, then that helps in filling the container. And then we also have incorporated within the demand planner software our very popular purchase order generator, which does not require any manual keying to create a purchase order, and we'll get to see that. Okay, so this is the mantra of our Pulse dashboard software, that Macola has the data, but Pulse brings you the information. In other words, Macola has the raw data, and the Pulse dashboard software is converting that to information to make better and faster decisions. Okay, so this is the software. And the way that it works is I'll just go ahead and reset. What you do is you come in and you specify a particular vendor, or in my case, I'm going to select all vendors, and then I'm going to select a particular location. And then from here, what it's doing is you'll see down here in the bottom down here, it's refreshing these what we call optimized tables. So it's going through, it's taking the products that you have customer orders for, it's exploding those. It takes the bill of material and explodes that down to the component. The forecast, let's say that you have a forecast for a finished good. Well, then what our software is doing is as it is computing this, it's exploded all the bills of material for all of those forecasts. So it basically flattens out the entire forecast down to the components, because you're buying the components, not the finished good. And then what it's doing is it's looking for the pricing that you're using for each one of these vendors. So if you're using the Macola vendor item file, then it's calculating those or looking up those prices as well. And then you can see that this process it does take a few minutes to run, or a few moments to run. We'll have this. It says that it's still refreshing up here, and I want to make sure that there's not a message behind here. Okay. So what it did was it finished, and it displayed all these items here. And I'm just going to pick out this vendor 700 for today. So in other words, what it showed, if I use the slide bar, is these. I just chose all the vendors. But for discussion purposes today, for demonstration purposes, we're just going to use this vendor 700. Okay, so here's vendor 700. And let's take a look at what information is on here. So this is kind of dummy data. This is really not Chicago Box Company. Okay, the first thing is it has a column here for the cubic meters for each product. So to make this work for populating a container, this is information that it's expecting. It's expecting some kind of safety stock, if your company is using safety stock, and then you have an order min, and you have an order max, and you have a reorder level. So these are key fields that are built into the Macola database. And I'll slide this bar up we'll just kind of narrow this down a little bit. Okay, I'm going to squeeze this down because we're short on space here, and you can see there's a divider bar here. So what I want to do is this information we've gone over. Now the next information is basically showing you what your 3-month average usage has been. It's showing you what your lead time is. It's showing you what your in-transit time is. Okay, well, in-transit time. So each vendor is assigned a port. So let's assume for the moment that this vendor 700 is assigned to the Shanghai port, and the lead time is 90 days for that. Well, for that vendor is 90 days. We don't have a transit time in here, but the idea would be that it would show a 90-day in transit time. So in other words, we have 90 days from the vendor. I'll correct that. Let's say it's 60 days on the water. We have 90 days from the vendor, and we have 60 days in transit. So that's our total lead time that the system is working from. So then the next thing that this is saying is, okay, based on this lead time, these particular items, whatever they are, 10 items, the earliest that we could get them would be on September 18. And in my database, I'm on June 20th. So it's calculated already. We'll kind of jump ahead here and peek at this. When we see a cream color field, that's telling us it's too late, that the window has passed, the window has gone by, has passed us as far as being able to get the product in the current month, because we have a 90-day lead time. And we'll kind of look ahead here a little bit. The same thing happens right here. We've gone now negative, and we can't replenish anything. So we'll just peek ahead. We'll just take a look at this. Okay, month 3 is the first month. The gray means that we now can order. That's the first month that we can order anything and still get it. So we'll go back here and look at these dates here. So this is confirming that September 18th date. Okay. So let's say that you ran this program every single day, because you'll have issued purchase orders, but maybe something has changed. Maybe the forecast has changed, or you just got this big order. So you could run this program every day and start looking to see if you have shortfalls, and then do something about those. So we're dealing with this earliest stocking fee. This is also telling us our earliest outage date. So you can see, luckily, we only have 2 items really that we're concerned with, and at the moment they're okay. Okay. So let's look into the current month. I'm going to slide this over here. So this is our current month. So the way this is working is basically taking our on-hand inventory. So this is our beginning inventory minus open orders. In this case, we don't have any open orders. And these are the open orders for the components that we're buying from this vendor 700. And that may be one component inside of a forecast, inside of a finished good forecast. Okay, we don't have any on the water. This is our in-transit quantity. We don't have any purchase orders scheduled to be received in the current month. So this is giving us a net demand of 0. So we can kind of skip over this. This is, in other words, we have 49 beginning inventory. That's our 49 ending inventory. So let's slide over just a little bit and let's go into, here's our net inventory. So this is our beginning balance for the next month. And we're now in month 1 in July. And we have scheduled purchase orders. In this case, we have 3 items that are scheduled to come in this month. Okay, now we're getting into our forecast. So this is the first time that we've seen the forecast. So it's saying that we have scheduled purchase orders. We have demand. This is our imputed demand with the forecast. This is more demand, open customer orders. So it adds those two together. Well, we don't have any to add, but here is our forecast of 68. So this gives us a demand of 56. This is 49 plus 49 plus. Well, okay, we work these numbers, so we're going to end up with 87 if we don't do anything. But of course, we can't do anything because it's cream color, and so let's just ignore this for a minute. And now it's red means we've gone negative, which is even worse. We can't do anything about that. And we're going to skip over month 2 because it's the cream color. We can't do anything in month 2. So for demonstration purposes, then what we're going to do is we're going to make believe that we are now in month 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to let the system, you can populate this manually, or what you can do is click on this button up here. This is calculate suggestion. And you can see these are too late to order. The green means we can order. So it's suggesting 188 and it's suggesting 220. So let's go over this kind of again. We had this basic information. We have our basic lead time information. That's all here on the left. And then as we slide through month by month by month by month, cream color means that it's too late. I cannot order anything and get it in time to meet that demand. Red means it's even worse because I've now gone negative. So we're sliding across here to the very first month in which we can order anything because of the gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I could approve everything, or what I can do is just approve these 2 particular items. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to place a purchase order for that. So vendor 700, location Cincinnati. This is the period. And I'm going to create the purchase order. So the whole purpose of this is to be looking at this month by month, either one vendor at a time or all vendors for a particular port. And then month by month, telling it either to calculate suggestions on its own, or you could override those suggestions if you wanted to. So let's just assume that we're going to take the suggestions and I'm going to create the purchase order. So here is the purchase order. So for those of you who haven't seen this before, this is the same purchase order as is part of our purchase order generator software. So the idea is no manual keying of purchase orders anymore. And sometimes I joke about that and I say, did I mention no more manual keying of purchase orders? So what we have here is this vendor. Here's the buyer planner. I can make this a released order or an unreleased order. If I need to change my payment terms, if I needed to change my ship via code, I have the option of doing that. Then what it's doing is it's going down and it's basically saying, these are the 2 items that I was going to order. So we slide down here, these are these same 2 items. And then down here, if we had the CBMs calculated properly, it would show us how we're filling the container. And if you were desperate to fill the container, what you would do is go up here and you would just keep raising these numbers until you filled the container, assuming it'd have multiple items. If there is a need to key in codes, we support all of the comment codes that are in Macola. Any user-defined fields that you're using, this is variable here, that information that you want to put on the purchase order, so on and so on. So when I press save, remember this is the purchase order number so the software has looked into Macola, obtained, it's the same as pressing F5 to assign the next purchase order number. So this is 17673-00. So if I hit save, then it's going to actually create that purchase order. I'm going to exit out of this so that it doesn't destroy my test data. So the idea being now that 188 would show up as our beginning quantity, or at least it would show up in whenever the month is, and we will go on to the next month, and we will go on to the next month, and go on to the next month. And then this then is, let me adjust these columns here. Down below then, if you're working towards a budget for the month, so we're in the month of September, this would tell me, I don't know, let's say you had a $1 million or $2 million budget for the month. This would tell you how far you are against that budget, and then also then would show you the cubic meters for the products that you're ordering. And then you would just continue the process over and over again. So one of the big benefits of this is you're not having to, like what some people might do is, let's go back to our month 3 here. They might say, oh, well, what the heck? Let's just order a 6-month supply and just get it done with. Well, that sounds nice, but somebody has to pay for that. And then you have to deal with it. You have to stock it and have room for it. And you don't, if you can rely on the vendor, you don't really need that, because here in the next month, you can just order more. And in the next month, you can order more, and so on. So there'd be no need to just buy more than you're going to need. And so the software then, let's assume for the moment that you as a buyer, you would select your vendors. You could look at this every single day for all of your vendors, and you're just looking for, you're looking for 2 things. You could look at the stock at these dates here, or you could be looking at where it's going negative and see if it's possible to reorder. So this is the gist of how the software works. Again, red means you're in trouble, you can't do anything. Cream means it's too late. You have demand, but it's too late. And then the gray means that it's okay to order. You now can order and get it within our purchase order lead time and our in-transit lead time. So Bart, have there been any questions? Anything that maybe I'm forgetting?
Yeah, well, no questions from the audience. Feel free to, in the question area, feel free to type any questions in. Don't be afraid to ask. Odds are if you've got a question, someone else has a similar question. But I guess I wouldn't mind hearing a little bit about maybe user setup or security for this, Mike.
Well, the way that this works is in dashboard under user control. Unless you're an administrator, you don't see this. So the way it's going to work is first of all, this is all the users that are available. Here I am. So this is the way that this works is I'm going to click on user control. And what it's doing is it's saying, okay, here's Mike Leahy, and these are the reports or analysis information that I have access to as an individual. So here's the purchase order generator. Here is the demand planner software. So if I don't want a person to have that, then this would get unchecked, and so on. You can even have further restrictions if maybe you're going to provide some basic information to people on the floor or people on the dock. You can have this so that people are not allowed to make changes to the software. But that basically is how you set up the security. You can also do some fancy things here. You can have outside salespeople have access to the software, and maybe they're not allowed to see cost information. They only can see sales information. So there's all kinds of restrictions there.
Okay. We had a question come in back on the colors that you were going over a minute ago. Attendee wants to know, can you sort by the color of the cell?
Ooh, since I went into security, I have to refresh this again. No, you can't. That's an excellent idea. Mm-hmm. And we're open to ideas. Typically, the software is implemented there's always some uniqueness to each company. So this typically is tweaked a little bit. So that's a good idea. Sort by those colors, okay? Because I was just showing a handful of items. It could be that you were showing several hundred items all at one time.
Maybe while that's refreshing, Mike, could you either talk about the installation time frame and/or the help desk?
The help desk is easier. You have, excuse me, unlimited phone support. Unlimited phone support with all of our products, and that includes unlimited training and unlimited even retraining where somebody maybe they haven't used the software in a while. And since we are Macola experts, we know procurement, we know demand planning, we know supply chain and MRP, and are able to help you. This is a screen we didn't see before. This is telling you that for this vendor 700, these items do not have a negotiated price that's on file. So since there's no negotiated price, it's just basically saying to you, I'm going to use the last cost that is in the item location file.
Okay, we have another question, Mike, if you'd like to take it now.
Yep.
What about items with multiple vendors?
Well, that is a problem in Macola, not in Demand Planner, because in Macola you have just the primary vendor that you can deal with. So in the item location file, this vendor 700 has been assigned to this TAS 701 part. I think what you could do is it's not the answer that maybe you looked at, but let me just do something here. I'm going to calculate this, prove this. Something that you can do is once you're in this screen, you can assign it to a different vendor. I know this is not a clean way of doing it, but I could take all of these vendor 700 items and order those same items from another vendor. But that is a restriction in Macola that you can only have one vendor assigned. Very good question. Very good question. What I thought maybe would be of interest, you've seen that the PO generator. Let's say that I go into purchasing up here, and I'll show you how the purchase order generator works in a normal fashion. And let's make believe that I am I'm Pete in the Cincinnati location, and I want the system to tell me for Pete, the buyer planner, I want the system to tell me all the products that need to be ordered today for me. And I'm gonna find one that has multiple products here. I want something that has a lot of items. Oop. Okay, this one has a lot of items. Okay, so what this is saying is the idea is it's coming up with, and these are using the rules. So the setup requires these rules to be set up. When it's time to order, what is going to be the recommended order quantity? In other words, let's say that your policy is we only order a 45-day supply, or we only order a 30-day supply or a 90-day supply. So that would impact this recommended order level. But these fields are all to help you decide, like in this case here, we haven't used any in a while. Why is this recommending this item at all? So you can add as many fields here. These are fields that are in the item master or the item location. It's basically telling you that you can validate. And maybe I know that this one, I have to order it in increments of 1,000. So I'm going to override this, and I'm going to say I'm going to order 9,000. So I say, okay, 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 okay. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to say, okay. And then click on the Create PO button. So this is the screen you saw a few minutes ago. And it allows me to visually see, here's the item, or the purchase order number. If I decided at the last minute that I wanted to remove this field, I could, or remove this one, I can. Again, I can change this to be a released or unreleased. I can change any of these terms. Again, it's telling me what my total cost is, any user-defined fields that you want to put on here. And then if I hit save, then it would generate a purchase order for these items. And then when I go back to this screen, those 3 items or 4 items would disappear. And then I would just continue. So we developed this PO generator about 10 years ago in an environment where a company was issuing, I think, 400 purchase orders a day. And they were able to eliminate one person and move that person into vendor negotiations instead of just creating purchase orders. And again, there's rules behind this in the settings file, which would say, okay, do we want to order a 90-day supply, a 30-day supply? So it would define when we want to order, and then when we make that decision, how much we're going to order. If you have a safety stock as well, it would accommodate that. So this was developed 10 years ago, and then in the PO generator software, we're using that same software here, the same screen.
Got a couple more questions.
Okay.
First one: how are purchase orders sent to vendors?
Well, that is a very good point. They're sent pretty much any way you want them to be sent. If you print them out and put them in an envelope and mail them, they can go that way. If you print them out and fax them to the vendor, they can go that way. There are capabilities within Macola where, using Event Manager, those purchase orders can be automatically emailed to the vendor. And then also our newest product, which is our Purchase Order Manager web portal, allows and if anyone is interested in that, that'll be our session tomorrow, same time tomorrow, will be the web portal. And that is a web-based product that sits out and is used by the vendor. So instead of mailing them, faxing them, none of that stuff happens anymore. They get an email that there is a purchase order pending for them to look at. They go into the portal, they acknowledge the price, they acknowledge and confirm the due date. And then if there was a change at the last minute where they had to change the due date, they can change the due date in the portal, and then that sends an email back to you, the planner, to let you know that there's going to be a delay. So the short answer is the purchase order can go in a variety of different ways. The longer answer is it's all the traditional ways. And then I don't think anyone in this session today has seen our web portal. It's a product that we are marketing in conjunction with a company called Microfuse. And that's going to allow everybody to, and that same portal can be used to allow customers to key in their orders, as well as the customers would key in their orders, and then the vendors would be able to monitor their purchase orders. So that's called our Purchase Order Manager portal, and we'll have a session on that tomorrow.
Yeah, that was a good timely question in regards to the webinar. It just happened to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one more question if we have time.
Yeah.
Is there any way to evaluate lead time versus cost by vendor?
I'm not sure I'm not sure of the lead time by vendor. At first, I thought that you were going to say, how do you make sure that that lead time is accurate?
We could unmute it if you want more.
Yeah, it may be, you may be referencing back here in the PO generator, where when it's time to order, how much are you going to order? Are you going to order the easy one would be, are we going to order a 30-day supply or a 90-day supply? I think the other way to evaluate it would be to, this going back to basic kind of Apex terms, if the product only costs a penny, then maybe there's an opportunity. You don't want to have 12 purchase orders a year. So if it's under a certain threshold, you may want to order more, thinking that the cost of generating, of course, that would be the cost of generating a manual purchase order. Let's say the manual purchase order costs $25. I think that's along the lines of what you're thinking. That's very good. We haven't done that with any of this here, and maybe that has not come up because we could issue a purchase order once a day, and it really wouldn't matter because we're not having that tedious. But with the more purchase orders that we issue, the harder it is on the receiving people. So that's a very good question. If you, whoever asked that question, if you want to talk about this more offline, I'd love to, because I think this is a good topic now. I think I understand the question better.
Yeah, the little note was added, but we could take it offline of primary versus secondary vendors. But yeah, maybe we'll save it for afterwards. It'd be good. Okay, that was it.
So that pretty much is it for there's pretty straightforward here, and we have been working with the software, I think, for about 8 years. We initially developed it for and with a company that purchased DJ, audiovisual or audio equipment, but mostly disc jockey equipment from various ports in China, and then they sold in Europe, the United States, and in Brazil. And so that was our first, and then that company went bankrupt on us. So, but so we've been successful with other companies after that. So, and I should mention also, these fields, these columns on here are all you can remove the columns just like regular dashboard, or you can go in and add. There's a whole bunch of fields that are not on this that I purposely removed. So you can remove these in the interest of getting more space over here. I should have mentioned that before. So, okay. Well, I know a lot of times when I attend a webinar, you get done and you say, oh, I forgot to ask that question. So I think all of you have our email addresses and know how to get us. So as you are thinking of other questions later today or tomorrow, feel free to you could just get back to me, mleahy at leahyconsulting.com. And I think there's at least one group attending today who is implementing this software. So I hope that this has helped you understanding better, and then we can talk about that more one-on-one. Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining today, and we appreciate that. And Those of you who have this software already, we appreciate your business, and so give us a call if you have any questions. Have a great rest of the week. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.